And that's when the story came to life. That's when I knew I understood. And that's the bit I'm going to tell you now. The bit I promised. So Kayefin, she was laying in her bed. She had just made love to her husband, King of the Elves. And she looked at him, he had fallen asleep. And as she looked at him, she sat up in her bed, surrounded by skins of one sort or another. Above her, a great wooden ceiling, smoke from a fire beyond in another room, the quiet of the middle of the night. And in that moment, she just knew that she was with child, that there was a beginning, their first child. And something came over her, an emotion, a deep, resounding emotion that made her fall backwards into the bed. Gently she went back and lay her head on the pillow, and she shut her eyes and she began to dream. And in the dream, she left that bed and her husband sleeping and went to the door. And in the dream, the door opened. Outside, the moon was shining, clouds crossing that moon. And in the dream, she left that place, the house, the village, the river passing below, the moon above. And in the dream, it was as if her feet were not touching the ground. She crossed the land, and all the land went past her till she was beyond herself and her knowledge. She knew not where she was, and she continued the journey, not touching the land, crossing the land itself with the sky still above, yet she was not touching the land. And this dream eventually brought her to the mountains, and she looked around, conscious yet dreaming. She looked around, and she saw before her in the mountain a vast house, like none she'd ever seen before. This was not Elvish. Its spires, its roof, its walls seemed to reach out into the world, and yet there it was. She found herself moving to the house and was not scared as she went, for she was who she was. Conscious now, she began to remember as she moved towards the house that she understood such things as this, for she had the sight, as her mother had had the sight, and their grandfather before. The sight allowed you to know things, and she knew that she was dreaming. This was some strange dream, magic beyond belief. She remembered she was with child as she floated towards this huge house. She knew that this was the most important moment that she had had in her life yet. Something was about to happen as she approached the house, her feet still not touching the ground. As she reached the house, the door opened to welcome her. And in she went. Vast it was, There were no arrays of rooms, just one vast hall, and there, before her, were the four winds of the world. And they looked at her, this stranger, and the north wind, his great face beaming down at her, asked her, "Why are you here? What brings you to us?" She shook her head. "I was dreamt here. I don't know." Come here, sit down. Remember what you do not yet already know." And the north wind led her to a place where she could sit down, and she looked at the four faces looking at her. "Ah, I have it. I am to go to see the place of immortality." "Ah, the place of the silence," says the west wind. "You wish to go and meet silence?" "I do. I have a question to ask of that place." "It is a long way," said the wind of the south. "I travelled there once. I will never go again." "But what if we all carried her?" said the north wind. "What if we all carried her, took it in turns? I can see that she needs to go there." It is what they say, a prophecy. There it was that the four winds agreed. They would carry Caephin in this dream to the place of immortality, to the place where silence lives. So, one by one, she was carried by them. They left that mighty house, and they crossed the mountains, and they journeyed to the place of immortality, to the place where silence lives. How long it took, she could not know. Even with the sight, she did not know everything. All she understood was this mattered beyond all things, and that the child growing inside her womb was part of this. This was no coincidence. She began to hear the voice of her mother. "Stay true to yourself, Caephin. Stay true. The journey waits for you." And there it was, they crossed the skies, each wind taking in turns to carry her. Mighty they were, yet tired they became. Still they went on, beyond the land, and then beyond seas, and still they went, and on and on and on, each wind taking in turns. Still they carried her, until at last a distant world appeared, and there at its centre a mighty forest. And there they lay her down, these four great gods, the winds of the world. And she looked at them as they moved away, exhausted. "We will come for you when you are ready," said the north wind. And they vanished, and now she was alone in this forest. "If you are here," she said, "silence, if you are here, I need to find the Palace of Immortality. I'm in some kind of dream. Please, can you help?" She looked around. All she could see were trees and hills. The forest was dense, and then it was extraordinary. The forest began to move. There a path began to appear as trees moved away from one another, a path up a hill. Still the trees were moving as she looked up and up and up, and beyond the clouds she saw movement appearing beyond the forest. There were towers. For sure, she knew at once. that this was the Palace of Immortality. She found herself moving now, still not touching the ground, still within some kind of dream. Up the path she went, past the great trees, silence, watching all the while, until there before her was the great Palace of Immortality. The door opened to invite her in, and she found herself moving there. Inside, she could not believe what she saw. Mortals should never see such things as this, for it was almost beyond imagination. It was a place of sheer endless, walls covered in paintings. She entered and further and crossed that room, still not touching the ground. If it took 2 days, that would say it was too short to cross that room. For no matter how fast she seemed to go, it was never quick enough to reach to the other side. Yet at last, at some point, she reached the wall of the far part of this great room, and a door opened, invited her beyond. And as she went through the doorway, she stared to a golden ceiling and golden floors and golden walls, shining with faces, gods, things beyond our own imaginations. And she crossed that room, still not touching the floor, and on she went, and on she went. And if it was long before, it was longer now. As she crossed that room and came to the end of that room, and another followed, and another, she knew not how long, but still she went on, until she came to a wall of glass. And through the glass she could see a garden. Still she was held by the dream. She looked out and she saw 7 vast white trees, and in their arms were old women, sitting there, watching her behind the glass. One of them caught her eye and gestured to her to come see them. The glass wall vanished, and Kayafin found herself moving downhill, still not touching the ground, downhill towards these 7 trees and the 7 women. Downhill she came, and there she saw that before them there was something shining, a pool, shimmering liquid water like she had never seen. And she looked up then, as she stood beside that water. She looked up and saw these trees, and saw these old women watching her. And one of them came closer. The tree moved closer, drew the woman right down until she was right close to Kayafin, to almost whisper. "We have been dreaming of you," she says. "We have dreamt of you being here. We needed you here. The world needed you here, Kayafin." The dream is ended, and at that, Kayafin's feet slowly touched the ground. It was warm. There was grass and stones, and then she could see the water, and she could smell the water. She was here. "Why have you brought me here?" she said. "We dreamt you here because of the child that you have now conceived inside of your womb. That child may save the world." "How do you know?" "We are the 7 women who rule the 7 realms, the realm of death and life, the realms of before, the realms of the elementals, the realms of the before people, the realms of dragons, the realms of gods, the realms of tomorrow. We have to carry and know everything, and that, she said, that is the pool of immortality. Long ago a woman came here, the eldest daughter of heaven herself. She had fallen in love with a mortal man. She brought about chaos. She took away a droplet of immortality for him so he would not die. He became mad. And the stone of destiny, the future, shattered. Everything was lost. And a great curse came into the world, shadow world. Even us. We could not save the world. We have watched all this time as the world has fallen into chaos. We have waited until now for your child. Your child is connected with the past before the time of the great shattering. Your child, a boy, will be born with a great gift, a gift that might save the world. But there is a sacrifice to be had. Caiaphas, all this while, transfixed on the face of this woman. She had never seen anyone, not in all her dreams as seer. Never had she seen anyone looking so wise, so old. What sacrifice, she said. What do you speak of? The child that you carry, the boy, the power he has, that he could wield in the world. It may be destroyed before it could be used if it is not hidden. It has to be hidden, for the Lord of the shadows will know otherwise. The Lord of the shadows will find your son and destroy him. So we have to hide him. And more importantly, we have to hide what he knows. His skill must only come to him when he is ready. He has to live first. He has to have a life first. And for that, you must give us something. What? Asked Caiaphas. What can I give? I will do anything. For my son? For this world? What do you want? And as that question came from her lips, she knew. I see. Yes, said another woman, coming down the tree, bringing her down. Yes. Then the other women came down. Now all 7 surrounded her, still held in the branches of the white trees. Yes, they each said. A sacrifice. That one. Caiaphas put a hand on her belly and felt the child growing there. And if I give that sacrifice, can the world be saved? It has a chance, said one of the women. There is a chance, and that is better than the way it is now. All the past has been arranged for this to happen, and great secrets have been kept for many hundreds of years because of this moment. Once the future shattered, we knew there may come a time, a moment, when the world could be saved. This is that moment. Caiaphas looked at the women. Will I be able to speak to him? You have to, said one of the old women, for we are to give you a spell, a secret. You will tell him the secret. Only you can. You are the mother. He will hear you. It will take many years for him to remember what you say, but he will hear you. Then I agree, she said. Of course I do. Just let me hold him. Of course. In that way, at that moment, the 7 women came closer still, and each put their hands upon the belly of Caiaphas. Here, they said, and they chanted some strange thing and sang such words that was enchantment of the oldest kind, in the most ancient of languages. And when it was done, when they looked at one another, then at Caiaphas, they said this: "You must leave here in our dream and return. And when he is born, you must tell him this." And one of them came right up to the ear of Caiaphas and whispered in this ear the mighty secret, the hidden destiny. "And now you know," she said. "You must unknow it. No one can hold that knowledge. But when he is born, it will be reignited upon your lips, and he will hear you. And one day, he will know what it means. Now you must leave. We can hold you here no longer." And so it was that Caiaphas watched them moving back into the trees leaning backwards, these 4 white trees leaning up and above the great pool of immortality. And she found herself rising up off the ground again, moving backwards all the while, and reaching the Palace of Immortality. Now backwards she went through the glass, backwards she went through the rooms, backwards she came out to the Palace of Immortality and down the hill, and looked up and saw the path close and sighed. In the dream, now awake, she sighed for what she had agreed. "Where are you?" she said. And silence moved the world, and the 4 great winds woke from their rest and came to her, and one by one they did as they had done before. They carried her across the worlds, across the seas, and beyond, until at last she found herself beyond them and found herself in her bed. She looked at her husband. Now she knew so much. She put her hand on her belly. "I see you. I see you." And she leant backwards and fell to sleep. Weeks and months went by. All the while she thought of that journey she had made and remembered nothing of what she had been told, yet trusted that all would be well. Then on that day, Caiaphas, wife of the king of the 900, the day that she should have her child, she sat in her bed, tended by the Elvish nurses. All was well, yet she knew otherwise. Her husband came and went, and at one moment she looked at him. "Come here," she said. "I need to tell you something." "What is it? Why are you so worried? Is the child not well? Are you not?" "Husband, I love you. Just remember that. Now, leave me a little while. He left the room, concerned now. He knew how skilled she was. When at last the boy was born, there surrounded by nurses and helpers, the child was placed in her arms. Never had she imagined such beauty. Never had she imagined that her heart would beat so brightly. Yet there she looked at him. There she looked at him. And she remembered what the old women had said. And said in her head, "Oh, my little one. Oh, my little one. There you are." And his eyes suddenly opened, and he looked around as if he understood everything. "You, my little one, have to try and save this world one day." And he looked at her as if he understood. "You will have to try and save this world. Only you." And then she leaned forwards and she whispered into his ear like they had whispered into hers. And as she whispered, everything that they had told her came back to her. And his eyes widened as he listened and heard everything. And she looked at him then. She drew back a little. She kissed his skin and drew back further. She would not look at anything else then. Not at anyone in the room, not at her husband, nor anyone in the family, just of her son, Findorian. She looked at him because she knew that he must be the last thing she would ever look at. So that was what happened. As her heart stopped beating and her eyes turned to glass. And that, as they say, was the beginning of the hidden destiny. And now you know a little bit of the story that set up the whole idea of the 9 books.